Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome along then to this round number 8 here in PC Division 1 in Season 6 of the FRS here in Melbourne, Australia at the Albert Park circuit. It is a circuit that has been incredibly popular across the FRS's history, appearing in every single calendar except for Season 3. This, of course, being a fantastic circuit that has hosted Formula 1 season opener traditionally since 1997, with a couple of exceptions along the way. This 5.2 kilometre or 3.2 mile, 14 turn clockwise circuit then has 3 DRS zones in the modern era with 2 detection points, with a double bite of the cherry on the start-finish straight and the run down towards turn number 3. In terms of our action zones, let's take a look then at turns 1 and 2 first of all. That first start of DRS down the start-finish straight into a corner with not a huge amount of braking, but a corner with an opened up apex as this circuit has been re-profiled. We then have turn 3 down that second DRS straight into a bit more of a hairpin corner, also opened up on the apex as part of the re-profiling to encourage more overtaking. And then finally, we've got turn number 11. Again, another corner at the end of another DRS straight that has also been reprofiled in changes to the Albert Park circuit. We have the soft, medium, and hard this weekend, with the medium being a second slower than the soft, and the hard being 1.6 seconds slower than it. So, not too much of a big difference between the hard and the medium in terms of their pace, but the hard will last 6 laps longer, with 25 laps for that, 19 for the mediums, and 10 for the softs. So then, without further ado, let's head down to the circuit after we take a brief look there at the championship standings. About a 56-point lead for Fraser after a win for Silver Arrow last time out, with Booth, the other Mercedes, in hot pursuit. Those two aiming for a constructor's title versus McLaren here in PC Division 1. So, down to the circuit we go then. My name is Daniel Gilligan. It is an absolute pleasure to be here and talking you through this one. But I am not alone, of course. And as we see a brief moment there for Spike before we look back to Ruprath in third at the moment on circuit. Have no drivers having set time just yet. In the virtual commentary box beside me today and in the virtual control room, making everything look fantastic for you on the stream today, is, of course, Ivory Lightning. Ivory, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, Dan. How are you?
I am absolutely fantastic. I'm feeling much better versus the last time I was on a microphone, when at that point I was in the throes of a wintry cold. And I was all sniffly and coughy and all the rest of it. It was not particularly great. So hopefully that's all in the past, and we can look forward to a cough-free stream from me today.
You sounded great anyway, and Dizo is just retired from the session. I'm not sure what happened there exactly.
Dear oh dear. Well, there seems to be a stationary dot in sector, just on the exit of sector 1, sector 2. I'm on board with Arend here, and they go by the Alpine that's moving very, very slowly there. It was basically just stopped on the circuit. Arend there with a purple first sector, so not bad from them. Nordy has left the session as well, as Elliot puts in our first time of the day. That's then quickly beaten by False Tax. And 18-4, then beaten by Ruprath. Ruprath, of course, subbing in from Division 2, and already beating 2 of the Division 1 runners. Not a bad start for them whatsoever. The Haas driver, who's, of course, had mixed success in Division 2 this season, so hopefully this time, as they sub in for Division 1, it can be a more impressive outing for them. Meanwhile, Booth starts to show the hand of the Division 1 regulars at the top end of the pile there, 17-8. So 3/10 up on what Ruprath has been able to do so far as they complete out their lap. In terms of drivers next to cross the line, well, it's going to be a McLaren, and we only have one in the field, and it's Fraser. They head down towards the start-finish line, and it's a new fastest time of the day then. 17-4 for Fraser, near half a second faster than what Booth was able to manage there. And that's not a bad start whatsoever from car 74.
And Knacktrack has just crossed the line with a 1:18.2. Surprisingly, Ruprath putting up a faster time than Knacktrack. I expect to see more from him coming up here later in the session.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Knacktrack, one of those drivers who's had a little bit of a season to forget in some senses. I mean, if we take into account, just a couple of seasons ago, they were the ones fighting for the title with Spike. That was Spike's, of course, inaugural title. Before they then defended that title successfully. The first time any Division 1 driver, I should say, has done so in FRS history last season when it was them versus Fraser. This time, that particular championship battle has been turned on its head. Fraser has run out into the lead with quite some margin. As I say, 56 points between themselves. And then, of course, Silver Arrow, who has become a resurgent force, one of our earlier champions, and has been able to get themselves, a Season 2 champion, in fact. So all the way back in Season 2 was the last time they were in top form. And now they've really come back with a vengeance this time and started to show everybody that they are not to be forgotten, not to be counted out at all. So, to that degree, we've got Silver Arrow currently finishing out their third sector on their outlap, so it gives us a good opportunity in a few moments' time, once we've seen Clone Rishi finish out the lap, to have a look at what Silver Arrow is able to do. So let's stick with Rishi, see what time they are able to accomplish here. Silver Arrow just ahead of them has rounded the final turns. A lot of debris on the circuit at that final corner. I have a feeling that might have something to do with Dizo's retirement, and then the game has decided not to remove it. Clone Rishi goes up then into P8 with a 1:20.4. And now we can have a look instead at Silver Arrow and their run on board. And now headed through turn number 3 at the moment, carrying lots of speed through there. They're a little bit wide of the apex. We then go through turns 4 and 5 with them now. And up now to the end of Sector 1. And now we start to get towards some of the more noticeably reprofiled sections of the circuit there. Purple first sector for Silver Arrow as well. So this is a good first run for them as they go through this section here where we used to have the great big awkward chicane section. That's entirely removed now, and instead we have this great big long flowing bit of tarmac that's full throttle all the way until you get to the mighty left-right here. And then navigating that well, Silver Arrow not cutting any corners, not extending track limits. A purple second sector there for them as well as they get the DRS open now down into this reprofiled turn 11. Over the curb just on the inside there, and then using some of it on the exit too, then just lifting off, not using any of the brake whatsoever through the next corner, through the right-hander, and now then onto the brakes before the last couple of corners, left, then the right. Here you need to be careful, the back end stepping out on them a bit there, that'll lose them a little bit of time, and now up towards the line goes Silver Arrow. Will it be top? It's not quite. That little mistake there may well have cost them in the end, and they are 2/10 off of what Fraser has been able to manage.
And for our viewers, I do apologize. I'm a little quiet because I'm using a new microphone, and I realized that I had not turned the game audio back on in my volume mixer, so that's why you weren't hearing any engine noises on the broadcast. But we should be good now. Sorry about that.
There we are. It's fine. It's your first time back in the Div 1 saddle for quite some time, I think. It's been a while since you last broadcast a race in Division 1, wasn't it?
I picked this up an hour ago, so yes, sorry about that, gang. I'm a little rusty.
No need to apologise at all there, Ivory Lightning. I suppose you could say, we form part of a sort of Ebony and Ivory duo, with how obviously Ebony I am, clearly. Wait, no, that doesn't work, does it? Never mind. So, it's, and the top 3 then, it's much as we've been expecting so far this season. We have Fraser leading Silver Arrow and Booth, the 2 Mercedes cars looking very, very competitive, especially towards this latter half of the season. Booth, of course, and Silver Arrow, the only 2 drivers apart from Fraser to have gotten a win so far this season. Silver Arrow, of course, getting it last time out in... no, I lie. Oh, no, I'm correct. Yep, Silver Arrow got it last time out. Booth got it in Austria, round 4. And then, of course, we are, we're looking at Fraser having then won all the rest of the races. Last time, though, it was a sign that perhaps they are human, because it was the very first time all season long that they finished off of the podium. As we have a look at Spike now, taking the last few corners, using all the grass on the outside there, actually, to try and open up the apex of the corner as much as they possibly can, headed into the right-hander. But now, through the last couple of corners we go then, no such signs of an unstable rear end for them, like we saw with Silver Arrow. So up towards the line they go. How will Spike do? It's P4, not so bad for the 2-time champion, but, of course, they still have to combat the problems of a lack of force feedback through a controller rather than through a wheel, which, of course, they do not have. So, a bit of a shame that we've not been able to see them at their best and fighting hard this season, though, of course, Season 7 will present an opportunity for them when everything resets. Apologies if you just heard my belch there on the stream. That's very unbecoming of me. Dr. Zados then, up towards the line, another sub-in from Division 2. And whereabouts they go? They go with 8th place there, a 1:18.3 as their first run of the day. So not a bad effort at all. That means then everybody apart from Dizo, who of course retired fairly early on in this session, has now set a lap time. Fraser has crossed the line there, has failed to improve, although actually that being said, I'm talking nonsense, that was an outlap. So this will be the time lap for Fraser. So down towards turn number 3 we go then with the McLaren driver. And now as they turn in then, it's nice and hit the apex there on the inside, then just making as much use as they can of the car through the left-hander of turn number 4 there. It's a bit more tricky sometimes to get that power down, but making use of those higher gears there was Fraser, and as a result, that means we now got a new purple first sector, so beating what Silver Arrow was able to do previously, and they stick very tight to the inside here. This is what you often will see throughout esports and through league racing, is that sometimes the lines that the game recommends for you and that the AI will follow in career mode and so on is not what you end up seeing the drivers using, and that has meant then a new purple second sector as well for Silver Arrow. So they are now faster than for Fraser rather, not for Silver Arrow, as they are faster than Silver Arrow throughout this first 2 parts of the lap. Through the final sector we go then. Will there be any mistakes at the rear end with this car? Doesn't look like it so far into the left-hander, and now maybe a little bit of a snap there. And then through the right-hander we go. Drama's over by that point, and up towards the line we go. Will it be an improvement for Fraser? I imagine it will. No, it's not. It's, in fact, the exact same time. According to my screen, anyway. So there we are then. Silver Arrow comes up to the line. What can they do? In fact, they are a long way off the pace, apparently. And so that's not going to be an improvement for them. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the game is telling me pork pies as far as timings are concerned. So we'll just keep with all of this for now and see what the drivers are up to. Booth is the driver we're currently got in focus at the moment, and 2/10 up in the first sector versus their personal best. So this is a good sign so far from Booth. That shows them getting up towards, if they're able to just maintain this gap all the way to the end of the lap, they'll stay in the same place, but they'll be much closer to their teammates. But if they can improve by 2/10 in every sector over the course of the lap, that will be a new provisional pole time. And it's a purple middle sector as well. Now, it's not a huge improvement over their overall personal best. It's now 2.7 tenths up. So at this point, it would be just sniffing beating Silver Arrow. They need just a little bit more to be able to accomplish that. Now let's see what they can do here then in these last few corners. So through they go then, through the right-hander, up towards the left then, making use of as much of the track as they possibly can. As an Aston Martin stationary in the last couple of corners there. We ignore them and we follow Booth round, and up towards the line we go. What is Booth going to be able to accomplish here? Up into P2 and just a few hundredths of a second, couple of hundredths even, off of what Fraser has been able to manage so far. Knacktrack has also retired from the session, and they've done so at the final corner. Now, it looks like they may have crashed into Elliott, who is still stationary in that final turn.
Yep. And
I'm not sure why they are. There's a migrating host message on the screen here.
Yep.
Could it be that we have the dreaded desync? Would explain why some of the cars were looking a bit bizarre in terms of their cornering speeds and so on. So we're just going to check that now.
Red flag.
Red flag. Oh dear.
Okay. So we'll be right back, gang. The lobby is broken, and so we are going to leave this session, and we will be coming back with a new qualifying session. Stay tuned, everybody. Thank you for your patience, and we'll see you again shortly.
charge, they can't stop us.
I realized they just heard none of that because for some reason the channels are not muted exclusively, they are managed individually. Welcome back, gang. We're doing a one-shot qualifying because the rules say if you did between 5 and 15 minutes of your regular qualifying session, then we do a one-shot. So we're right on board with Fraser, and Dan is going to do a silly voice. Sorry to recap that in a much less elegant way, but they did not hear you until I said that.
It's fine. I shall introduce my silly voice in a moment's time. And yes, we will ride on board with Fraser throughout this lap and see how they do on their qualifying. So just getting everybody ready to go, including my silly voice. Strap in, everybody. This is going to be something you've never seen before. Okay, everybody, come on, let's go. It's going to be Fraser down into turn number 1. We've got the driver getting into the corner now, and he's going to be going down turn number 2 here. He's going to be powering down the straight, down towards there. You've got the DRS open. It's this great big flap thing that opens up in the back of the car. It's not important right now. Into turn number 4. And look at this, he's just going to start shooting through the power like that. Power is what we all like in a Formula 1 car. Now then, let's go down into the end of the first sector. Look at this. It's purple in the first sector. Yeah, he's going to be doing really well here. Silver's retired from the session. Oh no, that's going to be bad for him. Now then, it's all this new part of the circuit. It's all brand new for this year. Now we're going to go down to the speed. It's going to make everybody's head go as we go left and right here in just a moment. Look at this. Look at this. One way and then the other. Now we're going to go down into the DRS. It's going to be down now into turn number 11, which is this great big corner. It's been reprofiled for the new year, and then into the corner he goes. He's been able to keep going in the right direction. It's all good. It's looking really good for Fraser. Come on now, Fraser. Come on. Into the last couple of corners. Yes, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's very close indeed. Very close to what Booth is doing, but Fraser's got it. Fraser's got the DRS open into the turn 1 now. He's up the line. Come on. It's a pole for Fraser.
I just want the audience to know it was very difficult for me not to laugh during this lap.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was totally serious, and yeah, totally sanctioned by our head of broadcast.
Well, Sean's not here. We can do what we want.
Exactly. That's much the attitude I'm taking. So, as we are then, thank you, Arnold. And Fraser is fastest then after that one-shot qualifying session. Unfortunately for Silverado, who had been second in the session earlier on before it was red flagged, they DNF'd and will start from the back of the grid. That then leaves Booth alongside Fraser down on that run towards turn 1. And then from third down, we have Natrak, Ruprath, False Tax, Elliott, Nordy, Cruzo, Arend, Clone Rishi, Archduke Oregano, Dr. Zados, Dizo, Spike, Lord Volk, and then, as I say, Silver Arrow rounds out the order.
And Cruzo apparently joined in between the start of the red flag and the beginning of one-shot qualifying. So, hi, Cruzo. Welcome to the lobby.
Yes, that's interesting, isn't it? And reasonably competitive from Cruzo as well, so that's interesting there. Ghost says in the chat, whole race like this, please, Dan? No. What I would have a request, though, is Lightning.
Yes.
Could I have a Discord stream, please?
Is it not up?
No.
One moment.
That's okay.
Because I cleared out of F122 earlier, so it yeah, having more than our share of technical difficulties here, gang, but we're keeping it running anyway.
We're keeping it running. We're moving on up. Nothing can stop us. Right. Anyway.
No stopping us now. I won't sing anymore, gang. I'm sorry.
And no stopping us now. I don't know what that was, but there we go. Lightning said he wasn't going to sing again, and he sang again. Oh, honestly. You've got an interesting voice there on you. That's, obviously not me. So, we're just waiting for players. Just waiting for them to get themselves into the lobby, get everything set up then with regards to strategy, fuel loads, blah, 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 blah. And then we will crack on for a broadcast formation lap. So we'll get to see a brief glimpse of their tyre strategy at this point, and then we will get ready to see them all go into lights out, and away we go. 20 seconds then until we set off.
This is my favorite part of a race, Dan. You wait for about a minute so you can wait for another minute and a half.
Oh yeah, it's the best sort of waiting. The waiting before more waiting.
It's like going to Disney World, except with fast cars.
Or queuing for the Queen's funeral. Anyway, with that comment made, we watch then as everybody sets off. We've got Fraser, Naktrack, Volstax, Cruzo, Arend, Clone Rishi, Dr. Sados, Dizo, Spike, and Silver Arrow all on medium tyres. Main exception is Booth, who's starting on softs, and then we've got Ruprath, Elliot, Nordy, Oregano, and Volk, all starting on the hards, as we briefly watch a fence before we then see the cars starting to come around the final corner here. We've got Alex Jakes on my screen. I don't know if it's David Croft or whether it's just my voice that you're hearing on the stream. But here we are then. So Booth will have that extra bit of traction down in towards turn number 1 here, and so expect to see them take a swing at Fraser in this opening salvo of battling here. If they're not able to get that sorted, then it's going to be a bad time for them for the rest of the race, because their main hope here is going to be to get ahead and then try and pull a gap, or just hold up the rest of the pack before they then have to pit. So the grid is now formed, and we start to see the lights coming on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and it's go, 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 and it looks like a very good start for Booth. They've been able to get good traction off the line, but so has Fraser. The two of them get off into the lead, well ahead of everybody else, and now down to turn 1 up the inside is Booth, but he manages to back out of it, and now he's under pressure from Naktrack behind. Naktrack very close indeed, but there's been yellow flags behind as well. There seems to be an Alpine off that Spike up at the back. Silver Arrow's made their way up into 12th position as well, and now then further up the order, we've got Nordy trying to go around the outside of Cruzo, not quite coming off for them this time, but into the left-hander. Now it's going to be very close indeed, and they manage to just edge Cruzo out initially, but then Cruzo on traction on exit manages to get back in front of the Alpine. Meanwhile, Ruprath has gone down to 7th place. We've got Elliot then up into 6th, and Arend, False Tax. The two Williams cars are then side by side one another in position 4 and 5. Naktrack in 3rd, Booth manages to hold 2nd, and Fraser holds on to the lead. Fantastic opening salvo of fighting then from everybody, and briefly Fraser held the fastest middle sector there before it was then taken away from them by Booth. And this looks as though it might end up being a race of just 2 cars up at the front here, because already they have started to gap Naktrack behind. The gap now over 1 second between them, and look how close Booth is as they head down now into the last few corners here. It's just 0.2 of a second between them, and now as they head through the final couple of corners here, there's going to be huge amounts of extra traction available for Booth, especially in this rear limited final corner here. So as they go through, then expect to see Booth now be in a position when down in towards turn number 1 we might see some action here, even if Fraser does have a straight line speed set up on this car, as they do tend to favour. Look at this then, they go into turn 1, it's close, but no cigar so far, but it's this run down towards turn 3, it's a bit longer, and we've got more of a heavy braking zone at the end of it, so this may well be the opportunity for Booth. Then they move to the outside, Fraser drifts across and then manages to cut off any potential attack there from the Mercedes driver. Good defensive driving from Fraser so far, and Booth is going to have to rethink how they do it here, because it needs to be a bit more decisive when you're fighting with Fraser. You need to be working on, you need to be going for something a bit more cutthroat as a move. You don't need to really give them all the patience and all the room in the world, and instead you should be focusing on trying to upset them as much as you can, because that's the thing that we saw with Fraser last time out. If you upset their rhythm, you upset their concentration, then all of a sudden mistakes can start to happen, and which happens a lot more often with most other drivers, but with Fraser, because he's part robot, and I say that with all the love in the world, he's a wonderful person, but he is a bit of a robot in the sense that he's able to just drive like just set brilliant lap time after brilliant lap time. So if we can get a driver to upset them and offset their performance slightly, then that's great. Meanwhile, further back, Cruzo versus Ruprath, and it's, oh dear, Ruprath has made contact there with Cruzo going around the outside, turned into the McLaren, and as a result there, it's been all tears for Cruzo. They drop all the way down to 15th position. Ruprath continues on unimpeded after hitting a driver off. So that's something that will be for the steward's room, I would imagine, in the not too distant future. And look at this then, we've now got, in terms of our close battles on circuit, we've got Dizo now threatening the points here, and Silver Arrow, but Silver Arrow is on a charge. Now, throughout that corner though, it looks like Dizo's gotten fantastic traction. Look at this now, this run down towards turn number 3, and they're already past Silver Arrow by the time they even get to the braking zone there. So, good bit of driving there from Dizo to get themselves back up in front of the Mercedes driver, but The Mercedes may well be down. They are not out for now. That is going to be a driver with the bit between their teeth, wanting to get back up towards the podium later on. In all that fighting then, it's all been very exciting so far. The battle that I'm now a bit interested in is towards the front of the field, and that is again between our top two here, between Fraser and Booth. It's still very close, but now we're on a lap where DRS has been enabled. So we might see that Booth starts to become more of a threat to Fraser in the next couple of laps. But given that these soft tyres only last for about 10 laps in total, it will be pretty soon that they will start to lose pace versus the medium. So Booth needs to get this move done sooner rather than later. Wouldn't you agree there, Ivory?
Absolutely. He really is doing a good job pulling a gap to Track behind, but if Booth fancies himself the winner of a race, he needs to get on with this and start making inroads.
And it might be that inroad is being made. Round the outside into turn number 1, and Booth takes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix, slows up on the apex, and prevents Fraser from simply driving back around him in turn 2. And then on the run down to turn 3 with the DRS they already have, Booth manages to maintain the lead. It is the Mercedes leading a Grand Prix then again for another time this season. Luke saying, did he though? We didn't see, right? I'd already switched over to that battle before the world feed switched to it, so that's why I'm saying it. So, false tax out of this race and safety car called. So, dear oh dear, where has that happened? That has happened, oh crikey, that has happened on the exit of turn number 5. So that then is quite a dangerous part of the circuit if you get it all wrong there. If you end up getting up onto the curb and then onto some of the artificial grass or the actual grass on the outside, then that's a bit of a shame there.
The stream managed to just catch False Tax's car disappearing. It looks like he was suspended after having crashed into a wall perpendicular to the track as Booth is coming into the pits, as is Fraser here. I expect we're going to be seeing quite a few cars now coming into the pit lane.
Possibly, and yeah, absolutely, as pointed out in the comments, this is major help for Booth, who's able to now get the hard tyres on and go to the end of the race. But look at this, Fraser has been able to overtake the Mercedes in the pits. So that's not going to be very good for Booth. It means he's got to do all the hard work all over again, but this time they've got traffic that might help or hinder them. So Luke, why are you not in this race? You should be racing here today. You're 4th in the championship. You should be racing along with us, and instead you are in the Twitch chat. Dear oh dear.
This is also very good for Cruzo and Spike, who found themselves quite a ways off the pack here early due to incidents earlier on in the race. They will catch right back up with the same age of tires as Silver Arrow, Clone Richie, and Track ahead. So, sigh of relief for those guys.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got some reactions in the chat at the moment from Hawks and from Luke saying, well, things that I won't repeat on the stream, but I don't know what they're reacting to. So, there we are. Why is Nordy such a beast, says Semicism. Well, that's because Nordy is the GOAT, clearly. They're driving an Alpine. They are channeling their inner Fernando Alonso. So there we are then. Oh, Fraser getting past Booth in the pits, I see. Right, there we go then. Thanks for that then, Hawks. That's good to know. Yep, it was a confusing thing for me as well. It might be that with the turn-in, that's something that could have happened to them, where they've lost out there. But you know, this is something which which potentially is something you've got plenty of time to practice. So therefore, something you could have potentially mitigated later on. But there we are. We've now got then a new race running order here for us. We've got Arend leading the Grand Prix now from Ruprath, from Zados, from Nordy, then Elliott, Dizo, then the effective race leader of Fraser, and then Booth, and then we have Lord Volk, Archduke Oregano, then Track effective P3, then Rishi, Silver Arrow, Cruzo, and Spike all having pit. So those who are all on the one-lap old tyres are in a very good position now, because they can surely go to the end of this race on those tyres, whereas then the rest of the field will have to pit at least one more time. And if this is the only safety car that we see, then that's going to mean then that we're likely to have all these cars still out on the circuits for the rest of the... hang on, what am I saying? My brain's turned to mush there all of a sudden. Ignore me for a second whilst I just do a Control-Alt-Delete of my own brain.
I have two suspicions here, Dan. I don't think this is going to be the only safety car, as Diesel looks like he's spun. What's going on there? Yeah, Diesel now quite a bit behind the pack. As the safety car is in this lap, he will catch back up. And I think that while the hard runners who just pit can go to the end of the race, I think it's going to be very, very unpleasant toward the end of the race. And track position might be helpful there, but someone on fresher mediums toward the end of the race is going to be significantly faster than someone on 20 plus hole hards. I hope we get to see a little bit of that, because that should be very entertaining.
Should be indeed. So as they round the turn 11 then, Arend keeping the pack all bunched up, carrying on at a reasonable pace here, letting the safety car just get away. It's now in the pit lane, so they could go at any time. They've got Ruprath just behind them, and then Zados and Nordi as well. And now let's see then what Arend wants to do here. Now they've got both drivers behind then, keen to get on with it, both accelerating nice and close to the back of the Williams here that is still strafing back and forth, trying to get some temperature into their tyres, and away they go. They've been able to catch Ruprath napping, and that means that Zados now is coming alongside. Two rivals from PC Division 2 are now running side by side down into turn number 1. Is this going to end in tears? Is it going to be a good move here? Round the outside goes Dr. Zados, and now up the inside through turn number 2. And they have second place in this restarted race. Ruprath has been compromised as well and is now being challenged by Elliott. Down into 3 they go then, and Ruprath runs Elliott out of road there. Good squeeze from Ruprath to defend, and that keeps him ahead of the Aston Martin there. So Ruprath maintains P3, Elliott's up into P4, and Fraser is up into P5, having already overtaken Lord Volk and kept ahead of Booth, who's been overtaken by Knacktrack and all of that as well. So very close indeed. If Fraser now gets by Elliott as well. So the championship leader on a massive charge here, trying to get back to the front of this field. Look at this then, the two of them so incredibly close as they go through the left-handers and then the rights. But over the curb on exit there, it just seems as though Fraser's able to carry just that bit more speed on exit and then just start to gallop away from Elliott behind. And like a hot knife through butter here, a McLaren driver.
Dan, sorry to interrupt you. It looks like Nordi and Diesel have come together lower down the field, because both of them are now significantly behind the safety car pack. Nordi 12 and change behind the car in front of them. Diesel a further 9 seconds back.
Oh. Let's have a look at this there. We've got Booth versus Knacktrack here. Down the start-finish straight. It's very close between them. Booth manages to take advantage of a mistake in the final turn for Knacktrack. And that then means into turn 1, they've got the move done. So they're back ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. Will it stick? Or will there be... Oh, there's some unforeseen consequence there. Cruzo is out of this race. On the exit of turn turn 2 rather, they have retired. And that then means we have another full course safety car here. So everybody slows right down. Arend even coming to a complete stop. And this, I find a bit... well, it's a bit silly, really, isn't it? I mean, the game is clearly not implementing safety cars properly. If drivers are needing to come to a complete halt on the circuit in order to avoid a penalty.
No.
That's just... It's embarrassing, frankly, for any developer to have signed off on this. Well, it's a sign then really of how game development has gone downhill in recent years, isn't it? But there we are. So Dr. Zados then still in second place, having made that move on Ruprath at the restart there. Ruprath still ahead of Fraser after they successfully defended from Elliott, who then fell back behind the McLaren driver. And then, in terms of this now, will we see any of those medium tyre runners perhaps deciding that now is a good time to jump into the pits? Well, we certainly see it for Zados. We do see it for Arend as well. So, they're both into the pits. Nordi at the back of the pack. Will they decide to pit? No, in fact, they already have. They're on a brand new set of medium tyres. So, they will catch the back of the pack with Diesel in the not-too-distant future. Meanwhile, we've got Spike down at the back of the field, and Silver Arrow, Booth, Knacktrack, Clone Rishi, Oregano, Spike, all managed to get by Arend and Dr. Zados as they are in the pits. So they are effectively put right the way to the back of the order there. So that's unfortunate for them. But we did have a good 1 lap of racing there, I think.
We'll call it 2/3 of a lap.
Yeah. And, well then, we've now got another safety car period to sit through. So it's time for Dan filling the dead air as the commentary box needs it. And, well then, in terms of the weather that we see here right now, we're seeing pretty blue skies wherever you look as far as the driver onboards are concerned. So, and in the cinematic cameras, we can see maybe towards the sort of the left-hand part of the circuit as you view the track map. We've got some clouds over in the distance, but it doesn't look particularly threatening. It's not particularly grey, so I doubt very much we're going to see any rain over the course of this race. I think if we were likely then to see a lot more drivers starting on the hard tyre. And, well, more safety cars mean more time for me to end up having to just fill on the broadcast, which is not the most fun thing to do. We like to go and see racing here today. And in terms of asking the important questions, Semi-Sim, let's ask some important questions then. So, important question, how long is Ruprath going to be able to keep Fraser behind him? That's one of those important questions, of course, because Ruprath is going to be up against, let's make no qualms about it, one of, if not the fastest drivers in the FRS. So they're going to have a mammoth task in front of them as far as then trying to keep them behind. They've also got tyres that are about half the age of Ruprath's. Now, admittedly, they're on hard tyres, both drivers, so therefore the offset in performance isn't going to be enormous. But it's going to be interesting then at the restart here, because we have seen that Ruprath has in the past, you know, in this race, you know, there was the potential contact that was happening earlier on with them and Crusoe, but then we saw very good defense from them versus Elliott at the restart. So which Ruprath are we going to get on the restart? That's going to be an interesting call there. And then further down the order as well, we've got other drivers to keep an eye on. Silver Arrow, Booth, the two Mercedes cars. How are they going to shape out versus the rest of the field in terms of where they climb up next? Because we've got Elliott, Volk and Ruprath who will all need to stop again, but apart from that, the other drivers, they will be fighting all the way to the end here. So the likes of Fraser, of course, for Booth, and then for Silver Arrow, they've got to get past both Alfa Romeos and potentially their teammate, and you never know, they might be able to do that as well. Ruprath has joined, according to a message at the bottom of the screen there.
Yes.
So has Ruprath left the session and come back?
So, Dan, I can't answer this question because I spent a lot of time racing against Ruprath. He has had a somewhat questionable internet connection and is a very aggressive defender. So what I fully expect to see him defending for his life against Fraser in these early stages. That and the somewhat questionable internet connection does make him difficult to overtake because the car on Fraser's screen might be jumping around a little bit. So if you're Booth, Lord Volk and Elliott in this situation, you might be saying, okay, I have an opportunity to maybe make some inroads here, because Fraser might be a little bit tentative on the overtake.
Possibly. We will wait and see how it goes. We've got then Ruprath, a different approach to Arend here. Arend obviously tried to back the pack up as much as possible, go as slow as they possibly could. Ruprath kind of kept at a steady 50 miles an hour throughout all of this. And now, as we come around the final turn then, they've not gone yet. And now they go, and they stick close to the inside to avoid any slipstream being picked up by Fraser behind. And now all the cars rush down into turn one, and we go again. So it is Fraser defending from Elliott into turn one, and Booth has already been able to get themselves by Lord Volk. And they now are going to be chasing down after Elliott. Look at this, how close the Mercedes is to the back of the Aston Martin. They pull to the outside, try to go all the way around the outside, as Fraser is doing up in front. That now turns to the inside, and they are past Ruprath. And that then means that it's going to be plain sailing for Fraser from here on out, unless Booth can get past these two cars in between them very quickly and then onto the back of the McLaren driver. But as is, Ruprath then not being able to defend for too long at all versus Fraser. And now it's a time penalty for Spike at the restart there. Not sure what that's for. It could well be for... oh, well, they're off the circuit, in fact. So that's a shame for them. Off the circuit, back on now. So... unfortunate for Spike, they've been having a very unlucky season as we now switch our attention back up towards the front of the field. We have a look at Ruprath. They are now, oh dear. I have a sneaking suspicion we may have a problem with this lobby, because it's saying that Ruprath is 3.6 seconds behind on my screen. And very clearly you can see they are not 3.6 seconds behind. Booth has been able to get up and past both Elliot and, just Elliot, in fact, and get themselves into third place. They will now chase down Ruprath. Again, for my screen, it says that they are 2/10 behind Ruprath, but that is simply not the case. That gap is far more than 2/10. So in terms of timing gaps, I'm afraid I'm going to be pretty useless from potentially until the end of the race here. I'm very sorry to say.
Timing board's good on my end, Dan. Booth 1.6 seconds behind MML, as Dr. Zados has just retired from the session. And that's another safety car. Goodness.
Oh. Well, here we are then. Another crash, another safety car.
So Dan, do you
Dr.
think...
Zados then?
Do you
Go
think...
on.
anyone is on the original set of hard tires is going to say, I'm going to stop for mediums here and see if I can run those to the end of the race?
I think it'd be an awful risk if you did. I think that ultimately all that's going to end up happening there is you'll take tires that will then be asked quite a lot of. Bearing in mind, we were predicting, something in the region of 16 to 18 laps for the tyres around this circuit, so if they're mediums, that is, and obviously not all of those laps, they'll be at the same sort of consistent high level of pace. We've got now 17 laps until the end, so you're basically at the limit of what those tyres can do. Now, of course, you will have some laps under the safety car in order to try and then get some of that tyre preservation in, as Ruprath heads into the pits, but... and they will be swiftly joined by Lord Volk as well, possibly by Oregano. Yes, they do as well. So they're heading into the pits really because at this stage it's the best thing for them. They have to take the gamble really because they can't gamble on there being another safety car to give them that free stop, but they do need to pit again. Now for everybody else who has pitted then, they can easily, comfortably go to the end except for Elliot. Elliot has decided to stay out throughout all of this, and they're going to need to hope and pray that there's another safety car or virtual safety car sometime between now and the end of the race, because if not, when it comes time for them to pit, they're not going to have been able to get enough of a gap over the rest of the field, and certainly over those who've just pitted, to then be able to go ahead and try and then get past them towards the end, because they'll then have racing speed pit stop, which will lose them a lot more time, and they will fall down the order. So Elliot is taking a bit of a gamble here, but these hard tyres can basically do a full race distance. Well, not quite a full race distance, but they can do a decent amount of the race distance. So I'd say that there's still plenty of time for them to go in later on. They could even potentially go in for a set of softs toward the end. You never know. Yeah, all of that to come, of course. I think, though, for the likes of Fraser, Booth, Naktrack, Clonrishi, Silver Arrow, and Arend, they should all stay out to the end of this one.
And Dan, sorry to stop you, Spike has electively retired from the session. He came into the pits and retired.
Yeah, it's a shame. They, as I say, they've had a very unlucky season. First, the problems with the game in taking away force feedback for a driver who really relies on it and wants to get the most out of the car. And to my knowledge, it's not been added back in. I might be wrong on that. Somebody can correct me in the comments if they are a pad user and they have been affected by the loss of force feedback, if it has been restored or if it's not. Sorry?
You are not wrong.
I'm not wrong. So there we are. So the game is however many months in release, and they still have not returned functionality to what I imagine the majority of PC players will be using, because not everybody has the money to get a wheel and pedal setup. Not everybody will want to race on a keyboard, so therefore the option that a lot of people use, because a lot of people own consoles, whether you like it or not, PC players, there are more games console units sold and therefore games copies sold on console than there are on PC, when you don't count PC exclusives. So, you know, for Codemasters to not put back in controller force feedback functionality, it's really hurting I would imagine, a majority of their customer base. And you'd imagine that it's been restored if it was ever lost on console, so why can't they do it on PC?
And Dan, I can speak to this personally, sorry. I can speak to this personally. Please do. I am also having an atrocious season in Division 4 because of the differences in the handling model since patch 1.6 and the loss of controller force feedback. So it is really not a good time for us in pad world right now, and so I empathize with Spike greatly. Was feeling myself quite a lot after contending for a championship in Division 6 last season. Can barely finish at the points now, and so I think Spike is one of many in this similar situation in terms of a change of pace in a negative fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And there you are then, folks. It's not just me hypothesizing. Lightning has already has been experiencing this so far and still experiences it now. I know that Codemasters are aware of the FRS. I know that our admins speak to them on a fairly regular basis. Here's my message to Codemasters. It's not good enough. Simple as that. So, here we are then. We're getting ready to go racing once again. And we have them now. Fraser backing up the pack. They've been very good at safety car restarts over the course of this season and just generally in their time in the FRS. And so now then, as they get everybody ready to go once more, going around about the same sort of speed we were seeing Ruprath going around 50 to 55 miles an hour or so during this restart phase, and now they go round the final turn, and it's a good launch for Fraser, and there's a big wheel spin moment for Elliott. They hit the wall out of the session immediately. Please don't tell me that's another safety car. It doesn't seem to be so far. The safety car technically was still spawned at the point when that happened, so I think that prevented it from being spawned again. But as we go then, once more, the car has been recovered already, so the field continues away. Booth is within a half a second of Fraser on this restart. And Fraser's made a mistake! Fraser's spun all on their own! Fraser is tumbling down the order. They are going to be at the back of the pack. They are outside of the points. And that means that Booth leads a race once again here in the Australian Grand Prix, with Nattrack now in second, and Silver Arrow has made the overtake on their teammate, on their rival Arend. I was about to say on their teammate Clone Rishi. I think it may have been Clone Rishi, and they've now fallen several positions down the order.
That's a very uncharacteristic mistake, possibly on cold tires for Fraser, maybe asking just a little bit too much on the opening lap of the restart. And now he has it all to do with 14 laps remaining in this race.
Absolutely, yeah. All of the work to do. And, well, it's one of these things as well where it's now my turn to sympathise, because those of you who were watching PC Division 2 last week, you would have seen I was one of the quickest that day. And at the head of the field and the safety car, oh, look at that, the Alpine there, going to go very deep on the brakes there of Nordy, nearly tapping the car in front, but luckily they didn't. And it's another safety car! Come on!
What happened? There's no one just retired, so I don't know what happened there.
Well, I have my theory, and it goes back to the Division R lobby that we had yesterday. I'll tell you what, I'll finish off my story first of all. I can sympathise with Spike because during the race last week, safety car restart, warmed my tyres up, and then the game suddenly decided through the final corner, no, they're now cold. No reason for it. The game just doing what the game will, and I spun and hit the wall. So, anyway, as far as this latest safety car, I think that what has happened here is much like the PC Division R lobby yesterday that we started in. We maybe have another lobby that is glitched where it's just safety car being called out again and again and again. And it's a bug which has existed in the game since at least 2017, because I remember being in a league race all the way back then on the PlayStation, and we had a race at Silverstone in which safety car, like clockwork, came out the lap after we had that there. Now, we've got some people saying in the chat there that the car behind Nordy just dived him and span. We've got Ruprath and Rishi colliding in the second to last corner apparently as well. So it's if that's the case, then fine, I won't rag on Codemasters this time, but the fact of the matter is that problem did happen in the Division R race yesterday, and so if the problem is happening in one place, I'm going to think it's going to happen somewhere else, because it is a Codemasters F1 game. Nattrack then is picked up by the rest of the pack, and Booth decides to pit for a brand new set of medium tyres. Interesting strategy. I think that it's either going to make or break this race for them. Obviously, they had the lead. They had tyres that were the same age as Nattrack and Silver Arrow behind. All the drivers behind them then, all the way down the order, in fact, had at least a few racing corners on them. I was about to say racing laps, more like a racing corner. But yeah, we've got 16 laps completed, I should say. 17th lap in this race so far. And it's our, third, fourth safety car? I lose track at this point.
It's the fourth safety car.
Fourth safety car. Well, there we are then.
So you were talking about the safety car glitch. I've been a part of that too, but ultimately sometimes that's just what an FRS race can be. If people get a bit crash happy, it can just be, you know, a succession of safety cars until we hit the limiter.
Yeah,
and I think. Sorry, go on, Dan.
No. I think just whilst we have the safety car out, just whilst we have this lull and everything that's going on, I just want to make a point. And I think it's important because ever since we started the FRS, I was there in season 1. We didn't have live broadcasts back then. We tried to do a highlights package and upload it after the fact. It didn't quite work. But ever since season 1, it's been something that I've put a lot of heart and soul into. I've very much enjoyed seeing the community grow. I love all the people that take part on a regular basis and all the in-jokes we've got and all the various banter that we have and that sort of thing as well. And so it's with love that I say our driving standards need to improve because they have started to become lax this season. And that's not just in PC Division 1, it's not just in PC Division 2, it's in all divisions and all platforms. Things have gotten a bit worse, and I think we all collectively need to pull together and just sort of go, okay, let's not race quite so silly with each other, and instead, let's go have clean, good racing and have fun. Back over to you.
Thank you. MML Riprath just got a 5-second penalty, I believe, for speeding in the pit lane. And to expand on Dan's point, ultimately a sim racing community is built on trust and mutual respect. And I can't speak for everybody in the higher divisions, but in the lower divisions, it also feels a little bit, at times, disrespectful. And if you can't trust the other guy not to punt you off the track, then this is not a significant improvement on open lobbies in that case. So I would also appeal to everybody's sense of, I guess, dignity and mutual respect for the other drivers. We need to be better. And I get that the handling model is different. I get these cars behave differently as the safety cars coming in this lap. I get that these cars behave differently than the ones before, but I think we need to be just a bit more careful on Saturdays and Sundays to make sure that our behavior and our competitive drives don't ruin other people's afternoons.
There we are then. Our 4th safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. It has already started to disappear off into the distance. It being the Aston Martin safety car, though, it's going to take a bit longer. And now then, we see Naktrack leading the field. It's been a while since they were on the top step of the podium. Maybe they'll be able to manage the feat once again today, but behind them, they've got last week's race winner looming large in their mirrors. A race winner last time after a mistake for Fraser, as we've seen one again today. And in order to keep the championship alive, Silver Arrow needs to outscore Fraser by at least 3 points. I think, based on where they are currently, that is likely to happen. We go racing once again then, and Arend has caught Silver Arrow napping here on the restart. They're coming alongside with the Mercedes driver down in towards turn number 1. Late on the brakes goes Arend, and up the inside. They overshoot though in turn 2. Cut the corner onto the grass on the outside, and that allows Silver Arrow back around the outside. And now the run down towards turn number 3. They are going to be line astern into the corner. There was a little bit of a look there from Arend, but it doesn't happen this time. Look at it, Archduke side by side with the Mercedes of Booth here. Booth on those brand new medium tyres. They are going to be a threat later on in this race. Of that, I have no doubt. 10 laps to go. And in this race that's left to run, we've got some battles on our hands yet. Of that, I'm certain. So, as we get going once more then, Fraser has also started to make some progress up the field. They've been able to get past Nordy, Dizo, and Clone, Rishi, and Ruprath, who are all down towards the back of the order. Not all of them have been passed on circuit, of course, by the McLaren driver, but they are making their way back up towards the front of this grid. Now, in terms of our gaps, everything is very close right now as Dizo manages to get past Rishi down into the end of the second sector. But now, as they come over the rise and down what would be the third DRS straight into turn number 11, all the way around the outside, Rishi's going to try it. It doesn't quite work this time, though. So Dizo instead manages to hold on in front of the Alfa Romeo. And then up the field, we've got Volk now sniffing at the back of Arend's Williams. Lord Volk on fresher medium tyres versus older, harder tyres for Arend. Arend is going to push all the way up to the wall. They're going to do the Schumacher on Barrichello here. And then Volk sensibly goes to the outside. They brake late into turn 1, try and hang it around the outside. It doesn't quite work. They try the up and under, but it's not panning out for them, and instead it means that they are losing a position, it looks like, round the outside to Booth. It's going to be 3 wide. Is it? No, it is not 3 wide. Instead, Booth is going to try and get one up the inside into turn number 4 here, and Arend goes really deep all the way off the circuit. It manages to recover back onto the circuit, yeah, ahead of Lord Volk, but I don't think it's going to be for long, or maybe it will. Yes, Aren manages to defend very nicely there indeed, but they've lost all momentum going through here in this long part of the circuit. They're not going to be able to defend this, surely, unless, of course, we've got full deploy going on here. Look at them suddenly starting to tear away. Look at that then. Absolutely ripping into the distance as Booth now has 2 seconds to close down on Silver Arrow and Nattrack, who are fighting hard at the front of this field. Just 2 tenths separating the Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes driver at the front of this field.
And Fraser has overtaken Lord Volk going into the chicane. I think Lord Volk's running quite a lot of wing because he was losing a lot of time through that section. And as it spun around, Archduke Oregano pointing the wrong direction. And now finds himself very at the back of the field, and there's only one potential safety car left. That's very unfortunate for them.
Okay, well, at least we don't have another safety car. DRS has now been enabled for the first time in many laps, as now Arend, with massive straight line speed, is able to defend from Fraser down the start-finish straight. As they go on this run now down towards turn number 3, Fraser has got the McLaren with a massive overspeed versus the Williams, but that Williams seems to have great top-end speed. Gets there reasonably quickly as well, manages to hold it out there around side of Fraser there. Hold them out to dry, and now on the run, Fraser gets good traction round the outside in turn number 5. Look at this now, running down towards turn number 6 then. It's going to be round the outside for Fraser once more. Are they going to be able to manage it on these fresher medium tyres? Yes, they do! Fraser with a fantastic move there, but on this straight line part of the circuit, they may well be under threat now from Aren coming back past them. Look at this, the Williams driver is coming back past them. Now as they head down towards the left right here of turns 9 and 10, look now, it's going to be around the outside for Aren for P4. And this then is a fantastic development, some brilliant driving from a driver who has never really fought Fraser before on circuit, and this time has to concede. But Fraser goes very deep. Is there going to be an opportunity here? Looks like it for Aren. Aren's back up the inside of Fraser. Look at this. And now Fraser goes around the outside, and I think this time, I think it may be done.
Ren's going to have DRS, though. He's not gone. 6/10 the separation point now. Stay tuned. And Clone Richie has just crashed. Coming off the final corner.
Oh, dear,
and we have a 5th safety car. We have a 5th safety car, and this is going to throw absolutely everything into chaos. Well, that'll be it, though. I think we've reached the race limit.
I hate safety cars. That's all I'm going to say for this entire safety car period. I hate them.
Dan, I've always appreciated how direct you are and how you don't mince words.
Thank you. No, I mean, it's just, it's one of these things. I mean, not to make excuses, but I'm feeling a bit unwell. And you know, we're just getting safety car after safety car. It's not particularly enjoying, you know, fun to watch. It's not particularly fun to drive, I'm sure. And I can tell you, it's not much fun to commentate on either. Yeah, this is, it's painful, really, because we've had some great racing, some interesting strategies going on. We've had the drama of the championship leader falling all the way down the order, potentially leading to a more interesting result. And instead, they're now back up onto the podium because there've been 2 safety cars since they spun round. It's boring. It's really, really boring. And obviously, it's partly self-inflicted for us because, you know, the drivers are the ones making the mistakes to bring out these safety cars. But at the same time, I feel that the game is perhaps just too safety car happy, even in the instance where the safety car is set to reduced. So it's, yeah, and my throat really hurts now. I'm not gonna lie, this is a difficult one for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan. And I happen to agree with you there. I think the game is too safety car happy. That was a crash at the final corner. There was no one behind them. The game was going to disappear that car before any other cars came back out onto the track. I really don't think this is necessary in this situation. But we have some intrigue here on the tires because everybody from Booth behind has pit for soft tires. So we have 2 runners at the front, on very old hard tires, 2 more runners on aging medium tires, and then the entire rest of the field from 5th to 10th is now on fresh soft tires. And we've got some penalties for Nordy and Diesel as well mixed in there. So if the hard runners especially have a hard time warming up their tires after the safety car, this is going to get really interesting really fast.
It certainly will. Yeah, so we've got at least one more lap behind the safety car then.
I'm amazed it's not come in this lap. Genuinely, there was nothing else to do there.
Nordy decides to go into the pits. They've no idea why they've decided to do that. They're already on fresh tyres. And there's some jostling happening in the pit lane here between Ruprath and Diesel. Ruprath overtaking in a la Sebastian Vettel sort of style. Clone Rishi has left the session. And
I think they're serving penalties, Dan.
I think they have tried to serve penalties. I'm not sure all of them have, though. Ruprath already served their penalty as far as I was aware, because they had a 5-second penalty from earlier on in the race. So unless they sped again into the pit lane and got another penalty, I'm not entirely certain why, but there we are. So everybody at the back now back onto fresh soft tyres. Booth, Archduke and Arend all on 1 lap old softs. And then you've got Fraser and Lord Volk on 12 and 11 lap old mediums respectively, and then Nattrack and Silver Arrow at the front of this field with 19 lap old tyres. Now, they're not actually 19 laps old. They're 19 laps old in the sense that they have gone 19 laps around this circuit, but they've not done so at racing speed all of the time. Because, of course, we've had 5 safety cars. 5. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 safety cars. It's not good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 safety cars.
There we are. It's a bit like if we were to sing for the song, on the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 safety cars, 4 DNFs, 3 French cars, 2 Alpha Tauris, and Fraser on the podium. I don't know.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the FRS 12 Days of Christmas.
There we go. I feel like we should do an FRS 12 Days of Christmas. We should record that as a community. Everybody should sing a line or something like that. And then we let it all together for the awards show. Something like that. Only 3 months early, says Roy Weller, but, by the time we finish Season 7, it's going to be past Christmas. So here we are then, racing once again through the final turn. I'm so not interested in the safety car, I didn't even realise it was coming in. So down towards turn number 1 we go then. And it's as you were for the top 4, but I'd imagine that there's a certain Mercedes driver further back that is hoping that is going to change relatively soon. But look at this, Fraser, very close to the back of Silver Arrow. They need to pass Silver Arrow. If they finish ahead of Silver Arrow this race, they are able to then clinch the championship. And with all the positions available for the drivers to finish in now, that is a certainty. And now they are really sniffing towards the back of that Mercedes. It's all so close, and as things stand at the moment with Silver Arrow finishing in 2nd and Fraser finishing in 3rd, I think that's enough points in Silver Arrow's favour in order to keep this championship alive, but it's still very, very close and will make it nigh on impossible in the final couple of rounds to manage to keep that lead for the Mercedes driver. They are very close to the back of Nattrack. They're so close, in fact, that Nattrack might even be under threat from Silver Arrow here. This might be the saving grace that puts 1 car between them. And Nattrack goes to the inside. Silver Arrow goes even tighter to the inside. They then break early. That's going to give Fraser the up and under. Fraser moves alongside Silver Arrow. Now down into the next right-hander. Fraser takes 2nd place back from the Mercedes driver. And now the Mercedes is being overtaken. Oh, big late braking move from Fraser. And they've been repassed. Repassed by not just Silver Arrow, but by Booth as well. And now, as Arend comes up behind him on fresh soft tyres, this might be the end for Fraser in terms of fighting back. Silver Arrow has allowed Booth through, playing the team game, even though Silver Arrow is the one that has a vested interest in the Drivers' Championship. But certainly as far as the Constructors' Championship is concerned, this is massive opportunity for Mercedes to take another win. But Nattrack just needs to keep it on the road, keep it on the black stuff for another 3 laps. It's a yellow flag in Sector 1. We've got someone making a mistake further back. It's Archduke being caught up with Arend, and Diesel as well, hitting Arend. That was stupidity from Diesel, I think. I'm sorry to not mix my words there, but Diesel hit a stationary car and then hit it a second time. And that was me switching to their onboard. So if you disagree with me, submit your onboard so everybody can see that you're a liar. So we then see then that Booth is now still right close to the back of Nakchak here, just 2 tenths separating the two drivers. And now then, as Silver Arrow still maintains a gap in front of Fraser, it is half a second between the two drivers, according to my timing tower, which I think has rested itself. But now the battle for the lead is happening down into turn number 11. We said this would be an action zone, and it is! Nakchak loses the lead of the Australian Grand Prix to Booth, who retakes it for what seems to be the umpteenth time this race. And now they will take the field round the last couple of corners to start the 27th lap of this Australian Grand Prix. 29 laps in total. And look at this, slow Nakchak on the exit of the corner. That's going to give Silver Arrow the opportunity. It's both cars deploying battery all the way down to turn number 1, but Silver Arrow has the better exit. They have the better overspeed. They have the inside line now, and now they will try and hang it around the outside where there's a little bit more grip. And they get past the Alfa Romeo. Now, though, there's threats from behind. They have to worry about. Fraser is right there. Ruprath is right there. And, of course, the Alfa Romeo is still there as well. Nakchak hangs it all the way around the outside of Fraser, then up the inside into turn number 4. It's so close, but now as it goes to turn 5, Fraser is now getting themselves back past the Alfa Romeo, who's now passed by Ruprath. They get up into P4 on those fresh soft tyres, and they have Fraser in their sights. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if, for the championship, Fraser were to DNF in a battle here with Ruprath? That would be interesting. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. Probably won't. But there we go. So Booth leads this race. Now has a 2-second gap over Silver Arrow behind, and Silver Arrow almost has gapped Fraser here. And they have, in fact, over a second now between the two cars, but Fraser will still have DRS from being within a second at the detection point. So they race down towards turn number 11. They're going to need to try and keep it nice and close through this final sector to be able to have the DRS as they run down the start-finish straight, and the run down towards turn number 3 as well. But Silver Arrow is giving it everything, trying to break that toe. It's not quite worked this time, and instead we've got them now going to be having themselves very close indeed throughout the next couple of corners. But Ruprath is right behind. They're also going to have DRS on Fraser. They are going to be able to now power down the start-finish straight with fresh soft tyres, and now it looks like Fraser is just actually starting to pull a little bit further away from Ruprath down the straight there. It's not really changing much in terms of that gap, but through the corner, Ruprath is able to gain time, able to gain gap here. Now on the run down towards turn number 3 they go. It's getting closer and closer all the time, but no move on this occasion. But on the braking there, you see how much in a heavy braking zone Ruprath can close in on Fraser here. And now, as they go through these next few corners, this is going to be an opportunity for Ruprath to slipstream Fraser, try and get nice and close, and then into a heavier braking zone like turn number 11 in the few laps time. They're going to be able to go, few corners time rather, they're going to be able to go for it. So, lap 28 or 29 here, there's not much more time for this all to happen. Fraser now is still just one position behind Silver Arrow. It's not enough for them to wrap up the championship here this weekend. Things are incredibly close here, but now as they go through the right-hander, it is Fraser versus Ruprath, and these two drivers still incredibly close. Fraser being kept ahead here by DRS to Silver Arrow, but into the braking zone they go. It's so close, there might even have been a small tap there from the Haas driver onto the back of the McLaren, but as it is, then the gap re-equalizes, gets back up to about 4.5 of a second now into the braking zone for the second to last corner. Through the last corner we go. There's going to be more grip for Ruprath here, more grip, which then will allow them to drive through that final turn and be nice and close. 3.5 tenths as they go down the start finish straight. This is much more exciting than safety cars. Down towards turn number 1 we go then. It's so close. It's the final lap here. Final opportunity. Ruprath is sending it through the corners here. They're trying their absolute hardest to get close to Fraser to try and effect a move here. They've got some ERS, but they're not using it. Down into turn number 3 they go. They're practically nose to tail with the championship leader. It's so close through turn 4, then through 5 in a few moments' time. And this then could be the dying moments. This could be the possibility that Ruprath is able to get by. Their tyres are only 5 laps old. There's still grip and life in them versus 17-lap-old medium tyres. And this might be where it happens here. Look now on this run towards 9 and 10. They're getting closer and closer all the time. Using their ERS, they're going to get alongside Fraser down into this corner. Of that, I've got no doubt at all. Into the braking zone they go. And will it be round the outside? No, it will not. Instead, they have to go and tuck in behind. But Fraser now is compromised on their line through. Bad exit for them. They've got some DRS as well. It's so incredibly close between these drivers. They're going to go down now into turn number 11. But I think it's all over. There's a mistake from Ruprath, and that is it. Fraser is able to keep on to P3 here unless there's some massive mistake from him in the last couple of corners. And that means then the booth comes round the final turn. We look to them. They pull to the inside. They slam on the gas. And in fact, no, they lift off. They allow Silver Arrow by. Silver Arrow takes the win on the Australian Grand Prix. Booth takes second. Fraser takes third. And the championship is kept alive by some Mercedes team orders.
I was not expecting that. That's a very creative way to get 2 positions over Fraser instead of 1. And all credit to Booth here for intentionally giving up what was frankly a very easy race win in what ended up being a 6-lap sprint race. I mean, we had to wait for it. We had to wait for it for quite some time, and we got quite a race in the last 6 laps, didn't we?
We did.
Take a breath, man. You were yelling the whole time.
I'm taking a lot of them. I'm taking a lot of them. Oh, I think I've had COVID recently or something.
Yeah.
I feel really out of breath. That's never happened to me before.
And yeah, I'll agree with that. Driver of the day, Silver Arrow. Genuinely, I think, did last the first.
Did last the first. Did last the first. Well done, Silver Arrow. Second race win in a row. Second race win of the season. And, I've got a tingling sensation in my hands and feet now. Oh, that's not pleasant. But there we go. Silver Arrow takes their second win in the season. Booth takes a solid second place. Could have been a win. But in order to keep the championship alive, they pulled up at the line, allowed their teammate through right on the line. Akin to what Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton did in Hungary many years ago. Just able to keep Max Verstappen behind on that occasion. Just able to keep Fraser behind on that occasion. And, well then, championship goes to the next round in Abu Dhabi. And then, of course, if we're able to keep this championship alive, if Silver Arrow is able to maybe get another win, and Fraser possibly has a non-points finish in Abu Dhabi, we might well end up seeing a fantastic run-in in the final round at Brazil. Another FRS Classic title decider. To give you the full rundown then of the provisional results before any stewards' inquiries, we have Silver Arrow on the win, Booth alongside him, Fraser taking third, that final step on the podium, keeping up an almost podium full streak this season. From fourth then we have Ruprath, Naktrak, Nordi, Archduke Oregano, Lord Volk, Dizo, Arend, Clone Rishi, Elliot, Spike, Zados, Cruzo, and then False Tax is back of the field. Whoa. Any final thoughts from you there, Ivory?
Well, I, like you, don't love to see safety car heavy races, but at the very least it delivered an extremely entertaining result at the back end, and I'm really glad